Thank you to each of the witnesses. Let me start with a question to the league. As I mentioned in my opening statement, Congress passed the Sports Broadcasting Act in 1961 to allow leagues to negotiate sports media deals on behalf of all teams as opposed to on a team-by-team basis. Congress granted this antitrust exemption with the intention of benefiting sports fans. How does the SBA actually benefit fans of your sport, whether it's from greater access to games or improved revenue sharing to make for more competitive balance or something else entirely?
Thank you. As you stated, Chairman, the SBA allows us to pool broadcast rights, which has created a fan-friendly, market-efficient practice that's resulted in more output of games as opposed to less. One concrete example from Major League Baseball's perspective is this pooling allowed us to create MLB Advanced Media, where all the clubs together pooled their digital media rights. That allowed us to innovate and revolutionize the viewing experience. We were the first league to be able to stream games at all via the internet, first to computers, then to mobile devices, eventually right to the TV. So we think that's been a really big benefit of being able to take all the resources of the league together to create a product as opposed to each individual club having to manage apps across multiple operating systems and multiple devices. It's a hard thing to do on a small basis. You really need that economy of scale, so we appreciate the ability to do that. And while, the sports leagues are each comprised of 30 or in some cases 32 different teams that compete with each other on the field, it is important that we act as a single operating entity, and that's why you're able to have, 3 of us here to have this discussion instead of 92. Thank you.
Chairman, we think that we do honor the intention of the Sports Broadcasting Act, and that there is a public service in the way we've organized our media rights, as I mentioned, in our most recent national deals, which is a product of what the Sports Broadcasting Act was intended to do. On a national basis, we were able to license a record number of over-the-air telecasts, free over-the-air telecasts. That benefits all teams in terms of exposure because the games are available in every market. But also by being able to license games on a league-wide national basis, the revenue is shared equally by each team. So the point you made about revenue sharing, all teams benefit from those national distribution deals equally. Also, to echo what Mr. Gersh said, we're able to innovate by doing things that require scale at the league level. Our League Pass product, which is our out-of-market subscription service, offers fans approximately 14 different feeds of every game, different camera angles, different languages, different stats feeds for analytics, fantasy feeds, celebrity co-viewing experiences, and those things are really only achievable by pooling and doing things on a collective basis.
It's a great question, Senator, and I think that I would echo much of what Mr. Gersh and Mr. Koenig said. The one thing that I would add of substance in terms of what the Sports Broadcasting Act was intended to do was it was intended to make games available to fans of greater accessibility at a lesser cost. That is exactly what it does. If you had, in our case, 32 teams or 25 in the U.S. out there negotiating their own deals on every television market, you would have a complete fragmentation of their rights. A fan who wanted to watch all of the games would be buying from so many different packages, which the costs would be through the roof. What this has allowed us to do, the respective leagues, is to provide the greatest access to fans in the most affordable way possible. And that is, I think, the main intention of the Broadcast Act, where it's been extremely successful.
So the FCC's cable era regulations set regulatory conditions, including rules around operating within a designated market area, as well as syndicated and exclusivity rules, which can lead to blackouts. Streaming platforms aren't bound by these rules, but blackouts still take place on streaming platforms. Why is that the case? And do leagues specifically require streaming platforms to black out games for out-of-market fans?
Thank you. I think the result of the question you're asking is the way our rights are currently split up between the league and the clubs at the current time. Each club has the right to distribute throughout their entire home television territory. So when they do their deals in their market, they're on cable TV, that we, the league, can't then offer the games in their own market. So for our streaming product, we black out in Houston because the Astros are exploiting the rights there. However, as I mentioned in my testimony, also, we now are at the moment where 29 of our clubs have their own direct-to-consumer service. So you can now, in pretty much every territory, if you want to watch the games via streaming, you can go buy that service. And if you want to watch all the other games out of market, you can buy MLB.TV. And then those two services complement each other so that it does cover the whole landscape. So I think it's less of a legislative issue and just the way that our rights are currently divided between the league and the club.
Mr. Koenig?
Similarly, with the NBA, we have 3 different types of game distribution packages. We have a national packages, local packages, and outer market. And a fan anywhere in the country can access every game played by his or her favorite team or any other team in the league through a subscription to one or more of these packages. That's the business reality. There's no mandate that games be blacked out. National games, for example, aren't blacked out. But a fan in any market in Houston, for example, can buy the Rockets games locally from the RSNs that's operated by the Astros and the Rockets collectively. And they can watch games of the other teams through buying our League Pass outer market package, and obviously can access the national games. I would say that on the local front, because of some of the issues facing cable with cord cutting, the repositioning of regional sports networks, and just carriage disputes, more and more of our teams, 21 of our 29 domestic teams, have games on broadcast television. It's almost the reverse. I remember in 1992 when the Cable Act was passed, and there was a study about migration from broadcast to cable. You actually referred to that in your opening statement. And now there seems to be a trend. We had this season 570 games on broadcast television, the most in 20 years. And so we are very concerned with accessibility, but any fan can subscribe to services or get them for free in the case of many local and national telecasts to any game that he or she wants.
Mr. Proper?
The NHL is similarly set up as the other 2 leagues, and we have local rights, we have national rights, and we have out-of-market rights. The local rights, in terms of being blacked out, is structured exactly the same, and you have to think of it as, and if you live in the local market, you get the benefit of getting your teams without having to buy the out-of-market package or anything like that. You get that benefit usually, depending on the circumstance. Most of the games are available on either broadcast or major cable television. That being said, if I'm being completely candid, as Mr. Bergmeyer said about Commissioner Manfred, everybody's looking at the future of the models right now. The models are in the state of flux, and whether streaming results in blackouts or blackouts not happening in the future is something that may be addressed by the leagues over the next 5 to 10 years, but it is at this point the current model that has worked and has worked very well. But as we continue to have flux in the system, we're going to have to continue to evaluate.
Thank you. Senator Klobuchar.